It is time now for the Sweetheart Program, brought to you today by Hereford Feed Ingredients.
Mr. and Mrs. Claude Riley are our Valentine's sweetheart, and appropriately so, as last month they celebrated their 70th wedding anniversary. They were married in Amarillo on January the 9th, 1948 at Evelyn's sister's home, Flores Gilly. Claude will be 97 next month. He was born March the 25th, 1920, northeast of Klein's Corner in a log house on a ranch in New Mexico to Albert J. and Blanche Bedford Riley. He was the youngest of their children. The family would go out looking for work for 6 months of the year, and then the next 6 months they had to go back to New Mexico to keep their claim on their land. One of those times they came through this area in a covered wagon and met Josh Blocker at Progress. He tried to sell them land there in the Progress area, saying it was going to be a metropolitan area. After the Rileys moved to Muleshoe years later, Claude would stop going down the Clovis Highway taking ice. When he would stop, he would pick up Josh Blocker along the highway and carry him back to his little shack at Progress. Needless to say, Progress never became a metropolitan area. In 1932, during the Depression, Claude and his parents moved from New Mexico to Beulah in South Bailey County to find work pulling dryland cotton and heading maize. Claude was the only child at home at that time. He was in the 4th and 5th grades at Beulah. Evelyn Nichols came to Bailey County with her family, the Guy Nichols, to the Beulah community also. She was born April the 18th, 1928 in Floydada. When Claude first saw Evelyn, he was about 13 years old, and she was just starting to school, but it would be many, many years later before they really met. In the fall of 1934, the Rileys moved into town to Muleshoe, and Claude started to the 6th grade here. At Muleshoe High School, when the mascot of MHS was the Yellow Jackets, Claude played quarterback on the football team. In 1938, they went undefeated into by-district, which was the farthest at that time that a football team could go. The coach, Roy Stevens, called them his state champion team. Claude was the first of 3 generations of his family to play quarterback for Muleshoe High School. His son, Mike, followed, and then his 2 grandsons, Lincoln and Garrett, sons of Mike and Marilyn Riley of Muleshoe. And of course, you know now, Lincoln and Garrett are both college football coaches. Claude graduated from Muleshoe High School in 1940. Evelyn Nichols transferred to Muleshoe High School from Beulah and lived here in town with an aunt her junior year. The whole family moved into Muleshoe the next year, and she completed high school here in Muleshoe. Evelyn began working for her family in the cotton industry when her father built the Pleasant Valley Gin in the early 1950s. She continued in the family business and retired to care for her parents in the early 1970s. In his early years, Claude Riley worked for Dameron Drug, Taylor Produce, Muleshoe Coffee Shop, and Eastern New Mexico West Texas Utilities here in Muleshoe. After Pearl Harbor was bombed, he worked starting in the early 1942 for a construction company in Pearl Harbor. Then he joined the United States Navy, and in 6 months he was stationed on 6 different islands. After serving in the Navy, Claude came back to Texas and used his skills he had learned in welding. He was living in Amarillo, and Evelyn Nichols just happened to be working at a business across the street from where Claude lived, and he made a big point to get better acquainted with her. Evelyn was the daughter of Guy and Bertie Nichols of Muleshoe. After they married in Amarillo, they moved to Muleshoe, and Claude was a partner in irrigation supply and later launched out on his own. He was working in a field one day when he got to meet Mr. Hossel from the old Hossel Ranch. He also got to meet E.K. Warren of Three Oaks, Michigan, the owner of the Muleshoe Ranch. At that time, Claude was a young man working at the Muleshoe Coffee Shop, which was located at Main and Avenue B, when the Warrens reserved the coffee shop. It was closed to the public that day, and the Warrens ordered steaks and conducted a business meeting there at the Muleshoe Coffee Shop. Evelyn and Claude Riley have 2 sons, Mike of Muleshoe and Joe Pat of Irving. They were both reared here in Muleshoe and graduated from Muleshoe High School. They also have 4 grandchildren, Lincoln, Garrett, Allie, and Burnley. And they also have 6 great-grandchildren, 3 boys and 3 girls. Claude hauled hay for many years and used to sleep under the truck on a cot or make a depression in the top of the hay for a bed on the truck when it was hotter weather. About every 3 days, the men would sleep in a motel to clean up. The late Bill Lambert of Muleshoe was one of the other hay haulers with whom he worked. He recalled that Mr. Lambert was one of the most honest men that he had ever met. For about 10 or 15 years, Claude Riley manufactured the super cooling system for automobiles. His business was located on U.S. Highway 84 in the old Quonset barn where the gas station of United is today. He basically did all of the manufacturing work by himself. He closed the business in the mid-'80s and sold the Quonset barn property to United Supermarket, and then bought the garage of the Old Crow Chevrolet. He had an office there, and Claude went every day to his office after he had had coffee with his friends at McDonald's. When it was bad weather, all he had to do was just pull in that garage and not even get out in the bad weather. At the office, he exercised regularly, even into his 90s. Evelyn is a lovely lady, and they both now live at the Parkview Nursing Care Center, where they celebrated their 70th anniversary last month. Congratulations to you, Claude and Evelyn Riley, and to all of your family. God bless you, each one.
The Sweetheart program has been brought to you today by Hereford Feed Ingredients. You can find it on Reach Broadband Channel 6 in our rotation. Also, muleshoetv.com on our website. Click on the Sweetheart link at the top of the page. If you'd like to nominate someone to be our sweetheart here on Reach Broadband Channel 6, muleshoetv.com. Call 806-272-3990. We need a short biography and a picture.